Good evening to all of you. I'm sure that you are all well prepared by listening to Dr. Manoj Pateria ji. He prepared all the audience about science communication, and um, and it's a special day to celebrate Doyen like Sir C.V. Raman, and also all the researchers who are toiling in the laboratories to find solutions for the problems the society is facing. And I'm going to talk on science communication for the development of the society and a necessity. That's the topic which I'm going to do. First of all, I also congratulate the society for doing a good job of connecting people about the science communication. What happened? So, how do I access my slides? Hello. Yeah. Yes.
Yes,
So I normally start my talk by acknowledging what Emerson said. Our knowledge is the Emma's thought and experience of innumerable minds. So in that way, I acknowledge that what I talk today is what I gathered by talking to people and the listening to people or reading, and this is accumulated knowledge by received from others. See, today, I don't know, there's some confusion in the slides. They just got mixed up. See, today we want India as a developed nation. And if you want India as a developed nation, we need to have learning, building skill sets, appreciation for ethics, sensitive to all stakeholders, and wealth generation. And for doing this, it is the advances in science and technology that would help, but we need highly motivated and skilled manpower. And more importantly, you need to make the stakeholders aware of the effort that is going. That's where the public awareness becomes important, and that's where science communication becomes important. Now, see, all of us perceive, feel, and arrive at conclusions when information is made available to us. Creativity is in formalizing the thought process either in verbal or written form and communicating them to share and make others understand. That is the purpose of communication. The writing poetry and story writing involves giving form to the thought process and looking at a given situation with a different perspective. That is where the the poets and the writers comes into the picture. I'm sure that all of us have seen this picture a number of times. It is those seven blind men looking at the elephant. I'm showing this to say that when information is provided to people, they perceive the information or draw the conclusions based on what they are capable of. And that is the challenge when we talk about science communication. So it is not that what you perceive, what you feel, that may not give you the total complete picture about what you're talking about. So science communication is expression of analysis of the information and arriving at conclusions based on verifiable results obtained either by experimentation or computations. So many a time learning process is based on tacit knowledge. Most of us learn how to write intuitively and are following the peers in the field. So it's always advantageous if the process of getting trained for science communication is formalized. So that's what I think Manoj also talked about, the need for formalizing the learning process of science communication. Now, why should we talk about writing? Why is it we are talking about writing? Any literate can write, but then why talk about writing if anybody can write? See, the question is anybody can sing, but the question is where are the audience for that? Writing is for communication. Can we get the readers? Writing is a skill. Good writing is an art. More so when it comes to technical writing. There may be those who are born or gifted writers. Others must learn and practice. And this is in a jovially, a writer is the one who spends a lifetime in solitude to write and communicate to others. So effective science communication is, it has to be objective, clear, concise, and convincing. The style should be descriptive and quantitative. It should include details and use facts, data, measurements, and statistics. And they call what we call as a power. You plan, organize, write, edit, and revise. That's how you will become a good science communicator, good communicator. Now we are in a world of Twitter, social media. Our writing skills are becoming terrible by day. I think, you can see these are the type of writings for which people are getting used to it, and we need to address these issues. What are type of communication? Modes of communications. One is talking. The way I'm talking to is a oral communication, or sometimes you write written communication. And there's something called active listening. When you participate in a meeting, you would see some people are paying attention and some people are not. And they say the non-verbal communication is a very important part. It plays an important role. Actions, gestures, facial expressions can be powerful means of transmitting the idea. So we need to pay a very important thing. And this he said the most important things in a meeting are not said, and you need to be attentive to communicate, to identify the non-verbal communications. And if you want to get a complete picture about the, well, I think I just pick up an example and say, I'm sure that many of you are science communicating enthusiasts. I don't know whether you find anything wrong with this. One of the America's greatest living mathematician, Bill Thurston, has died. It looks very normal. You would always see in newspapers and other places. I'm sure that it's not an interactive session. Otherwise, you ask the question to find out what is wrong in this statement. The wrong in the statement is, you cannot have a living person. So essentially, you're referring to somebody. So these are all some nuances of communication which I wanted to bring it to knowledge. I'm sure this another thing which the societies are seeing is that even if I tell you that, can I meet you tomorrow, you'll say, can you send a mail? No, this is how we are moving towards the communication. That means we are going to a world where the one-to-one communications are becoming less. And the question is, you can also, some lady is asking, I have to tell something important, I'll send you a mail. Calling somebody and say, I'm going to send a mail. This is the way the communications are changing. So these, I just summarized here, what are the modes of communication? Well, if you are a researcher, you will publish your research in a journal paper or present a report, make some presentations or a poster, or you may have to write a proposal for funding. Where somebody asked a question, how do you get funding? So you need to write a proposal for funding. And each of this has a different way of communication. Public lectures, or press releases, popular articles, newsletters, annual reports. So there are different facets of communication, and each of it has its own challenge, and you need to have more, you have to train. And essentially, it's a perception management we are talking about. Yeah. Now the question is, when you talk about science communication, you have to ask the question, to whom and by whom, by whom and what. If you are a student, it is for learning. So the teaching community will use the science communication or to teach the students for learning. If you are a researcher, you have new inventions, you train to communicate your inventions. If you're working for an industry, you communicate to stakeholders, the society, about the developments. If it's the government, they communicate for welfare. Yeah. And at the center of all these things are people, the policymakers, the peers, teaching community, scientists, government. But at the core of everything is the people for whose sake we are sending this information. A process of integrating communication, decision making is the important. And there's something called risk communication, be it nuclear power plants or mining or emerging technologies like artificial intelligence. It is the risk that has to be communicated to the people associated with these technologies. And so you need to learn, how do I do risk communication? So writing, how do you write? I mean, how do you communicate? You want to write on some topic, find a topic, collect the background information, you read, ask questions to the right people, Listen carefully, make notes, check facts carefully, and write freely, read aloud, listen to the sounds. When you read about what you've written, you realize, oh, there's something wrong. It's not looking all right. So you need to read loud when you write something. So grammar and punctuation, learn from your mistakes. Is that what is important? I'm sure that I don't know whether there's anything wrong with this. Let's eat grandma. I'm showing that I'm sure there's something wrong. Very often we use in verbal communication. I don't know whether you find anything wrong with the statement. You don't want to eat grandma, right? You want to eat with grandma. So let's see. So sometimes people say punctuation can save lives. Writing can be difficult. Read indiscriminately and study styles. This is what Professor Balram, the former director of Institute of Science, tells. He was a good science communicator. So now I'll take some 2-3 examples to see how society is growing. You have agriculture, transport, energy, and refrigerator. Just tell about how society and science are connected. I'm sure that there was a time when India was struggling to provide food to its people. We used to import wheat from a lot of countries. Now green revolution has come, and today we have adequate food. In fact, we are ready to export food to the other countries. Now what has happened now? We use more and more agriculture, more and more fertilizers. Now suddenly you realize that this is not good, and we go back to the olden time and say organic. So you can see where we are going back in time. While finding solutions, we are in a hurry to find solutions and creating newer problems. Transport, I'm sure that man used to walk. We domesticated animals. Then buses have come, trains have come. What helps is that you can reach the place faster and quicker. But are we able to do it? I'm sure if you're living in a city like Bangalore, or you realize that how difficult it is to use this transport to reach. In Bangalore, we measure distances not in terms of kilometers, but in terms of time that takes. So what is the robust, viable transport? Maybe you get back to time and say, start walking. And this is the type, what the development that is happening and how we are creating problems for ourselves. I'll take an example of energy. And there's so much of talk about climate change. And you can see the projection says even up to 2040, coal will continue to be an important source of energy, and hence it will continue to pollute the air. And this what is the statistic says, the amount of carbon dioxide that has gone into atmosphere in the recent past 50 years or so is enormous, and that is what is going to cause problems to the society. Now we talk about electric vehicles. We are very happy when you move to electric vehicles. They're good. At least they will start local pollution. But if you do not change the mode by which the electricity is produced, you continue to pollute, and you should be aware of this part of it. So ultimately, you have science, technology, and society, and all these sciences have to work towards finding solutions to the problem faced by the society. And a researcher working with me, we had a student working at NIAS. We did an interesting work on science, technology, and conflicts. And what we picked up was in the last 10, 15 years, what are the problems faced by the society because of science and technology? And you can see that we listed here, be it hydropower, we considered an energy component, hydropower projects, nuclear projects, thermal energy, mining, natural gas. You can see the time period which is started to continuation. Even today, their Dibang multipurpose dam and Arunachal Pradesh is still going on. Even 2008 was started here. That means there's a lot of stoppage in terms of there. And as a consequence of that, the construction costs have increased like enormously. Just see how the costs are increasing by a factor of 2 or 3. And what are the reasons for this delay? The non-acceptance of these technologies by the society is the reason for the delay. If you take hydro projects, typically the downstream impact, environmental hazards, rehabilitation issues. But the problem is every time you start a hydro project, you have encountered the same issues. That means we are not able to communicate to the society about what the benefits these projects are bringing, and we are reinventing every time we have. So this research has led to these conclusions and say it's very important to keep the stakeholders on the table and keep them informed, and so that you don't get delays and also find solutions. And that's where public awareness, science communication all becomes very, very important. So ultimately, you have science, and part of it, you get some ideas in the laboratory, do something, and part of it convert into engineering to create a prototype. And when the prototypes are working, they become real-time products, and that's where the technology develops. But the technology doesn't stop there. You have to continuously work on that. Then that's why you would go back to the science and improve the products. But most important thing is communicating with the stakeholders, get connected them to proactively. Today, what happens is the genetically modified foods, nuclear power plants, or mining, whatever we talk about, what we are trying to do to the people is that we develop something and then go to the people. Then what happens is acceptance can become a problem. That's the reason why the genetically modified foods could not be introduced into this country, because of the opposition that is going to have. So while researchers struggle to find solutions in the laboratories, they don't keep the stakeholders, that is the public, into the confidence and keep them aware of while the development is happening. Today we talk so much about artificial intelligence, but what does it artificial intelligence mean to the people? What does it, how it impacts? This is the type of research which has to be done. We did such research at NIAS, and we took look into what stakeholders, that is the people, think about this artificial intelligence, how it is going to impact their life. So the role of science communicators is to build the bridges between the researchers and the society and the people for whose sake the research is being done. That's why science communication becomes very important, and we need to train people how to become effective science communicators, to reach out to the people and bring them awareness about what good it can make. So, science communication for me is not propaganda. Science communication is bringing awareness about the technologies, or put forth the facts about the technology, and the decision making will be that of the people. You're not going to influence the people. That's not the purpose of science communication. Science communication is bringing awareness to the people about the technologies that are being coming, be it technologies or any newer development that is happening here, so that people can take informed decisions. The thing very, very important is that I should be aware of the facts and then decide whether I want or not. That decision is to be left to the people, and that's where science communication becomes very important, and we should train people to communicate well. So I think that's where I think we and this is a typical example. I'm sure that the best way to measure whether you're a good science communicator or not is that if you are able to go back to your house and tell about what research you're doing to your grandmother. In this case, this grand old lady is asking when is the bus is going to come, and this great researcher is not able to explain, and she could conclude it. And so it's very important to connect to people who are not scientists, who are not, need not be educated, that you have to communicate so that they understand what it means. Well, this is my last slide. And essentially, I don't know whether how many of you visited Mahabalipuram, and this is a big stone which is there. I'm sure that when you look at this, you get a feeling that maybe it will fall down. It's such a heavy stone, but it's laying there for centuries there. So, but this is what is all about science communication. When you look at things, what you perceive matters. But what is important is you can see these animals, those happily are resting under this big stone, and this lady going around doing her job. So it is the perception is what. So when you look at things, when information is provided to you, you perceive things. So a science communication has a role in terms of giving facts. If I tell you this stone is there for last more than 5-6 centuries or centuries it is there, then you will not still believe. So this is why perception plays a role, and communicators have an important role in terms of bringing the facts to the people. So I'll stop here, and I thank you for this opportunity and wish good luck for the society for doing good job of getting connected with people on science communication and welfare. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sai Baba, sir. Really very fantastic sessions delivered by you, and our audience very happy after the listening your session. And it is very great pleasure for our platform. And one question, sir, come from audience.
Yeah.
Saitun.
Yeah, I think. Oh, I was talking about the tune logs. I think people who are interested. I didn't bring a slide on that part. What I do try to do is we combine blogs and cartoons together and call them as tune logs. And those of you who are interested should visit NIA site. And there, what I do is I pick up a topic and write on the topic. For example, Science Day, Technology Day, or on very important days of which we observe internationally. Then write a blog and have a cartoon on that, which reflects the theme that is there. So I'm calling as cartoon, tune in the cartoon, and blogs, logs in the blogs. I call them as tune logs, and I think I must have written about 200 of them, and they're available on NIA SciComm website. If people can type, it's available. I also post them on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I'm sure that if you search them, you'll get it. And yeah, it is a one way of reaching out in a simple language about a different variety of topics which I've done. It all started with my students who are there, and then now we are going. And whenever I find time, I do write on this topic.
Thank you very much, sir.